Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
Galaxy Digital and its founder, Mike Novogratz, have been a major force in the push by crypto into mainstream finance. Digital asset treasuries, DATs, are the latest example, with an astounding 85 and counting announced this year. They've raised billions from investors everywhere, from the U.S. to the Gulf to Asia. Galaxy among the top investors over the past 6 months. It's helped lead a fundraising round for Forward Industries' $1.6 billion Solana treasury. It's the largest for that token. Forward shares surged on the news, up now more than 500% so far this year. Let's bring in Galaxy Digital founder and CEO Mike Novogratz, who's going to be hanging out with us for quite a bit of time during the show. Mike, always appreciate your time. Always good to see you. We're going to talk about Solana in just a minute. First, though, I just want to get your commentary on what's happened in the last 48 hours with the sell-off and the volatility that we have seen. How do you explain it?
Yeah, listen, there are a few things that happened. One, crypto had a pretty awesome few months, right? I mean, Ethereum went up almost 3x. Solana went up a ton. And so markets at one point get a little bit long, and it takes just a little bit for people to get nervous and some of the leverage to come out. We saw what looked like some big Chinese mining selling. You also had, Arthur Hayes, who's one of the real thought leaders around crypto. He put out a pretty bearish commentary around Hyperliquid. Hyperliquid is the only token in the top 10 that didn't exist a few years ago, right? It's a decentralized version of Binance, if you want to think about it. And it's a pretty spectacular story with the amount of growth it had. And Arthur said, hey, wait a minute, I think it's gone too far. The founders are going to sell. And so Hyperliquid really got hit the hardest. And that, I think, kind of hit some of the overall sentiment in the market. And so I think this is just a pullback. Crypto's been kind of soft. Bitcoin's been kind of soft because a lot of the action moved away from Bitcoin. But if you had told someone 4 months ago that you're going to be nervous with Bitcoin at 112, they would have had a big grin on their face, right? And so you have to keep things in context. We're still up significantly on the year, both Bitcoin, ETH, and Solana.
Speaking of keeping things in context, a lot of people have been saying that crypto price movement can foretell stock prices as well, more broadly. It's like a leading asset class. Do you subscribe to that? Do you believe that?
I'm not sure. Listen, I think sometimes it feels leading and sometimes it feels lagging. We are in a euphoric moment in stocks, and there is a lot of excitement all around this AI theme. AI is powerful. It is going to change the way we do things. I was literally just in a meeting with my management team talking about AI at Galaxy, and every single C-suite in the world is having that same conversation. And so that creates bubble-like excitement. And we've got valuations in the NASDAQ and the S&P as high as we see them. And so it's a really hard market because it's got huge momentum and excitement around a real story. But it's got valuations that get you really nervous. And the interconnectivity of NVIDIA, OpenAI, Oracle, the vendor financing, web, that gets you nervous. Like valuation, creating more valuation. And so I think you've got a market that's nervous. That doesn't mean it's not going to go a lot higher, right? The last leg of great bull markets always surprises people on how powerful it can be. And I'm not saying this is the last leg, but it very well could be.
So if you're looking at that in terms of the equity market right now, how does that translate over to the way you're thinking about crypto and where we could be in the cycle when it comes to crypto right now? And not every token is created equally. I know you love Ether and Solana, and you're traditionally going back to Bitcoin, but what does it mean for crypto?
Well, listen, crypto traditionally has traded with 4-year cycles, and that would be ending in December, right? Halfway between the halving is usually where our peaks have been. And, the end of 2017, if you had sold everything in December, you looked pretty smart. And the end of 2021, if you had sold everything in December, you looked pretty smart. And now here we are, October of 2025, at all-time highs at almost every token, and you're wondering, should you sell everything in December? Listen, what could be different, and I think probably is different, we have gotten one piece of legislation out of the U.S. called the Genius Act, stablecoin legislation. And in all likelihood, sometime in mid-November, we're going to get the second piece of legislation, which will help define what a security and what a commodity is, and a lot of other rules around crypto in America. That's a big deal. With those two bookends of legislation, it's going to unleash a tremendous amount of new participation in crypto. Mm-hmm. I mean, think about it. You can't use stable coins on your iPhone yet. There's almost zero chance in the next few years you won't be able to use stable coins on your iPhone or on your Samsung Galaxy phone or in almost any social media app. You couldn't before because they weren't necessarily legal. Now they are. Yeah. And once the U.S. government puts its imprimatur on this industry, which it has, we have the most crypto-friendly SEC one could imagine. Yep. You're going to have this new wave of participation, and so we might not be in the traditional cycle.
Well, this week, Brera Holdings says it will be renamed Soulmate to become a Solana-based digital asset treasury following a $300 million fundraise. Its newly named CEO, Marco Santori, joins us now, along with Galaxy Digital's Mike Novogratz. Marcos formerly worked at Pantera and Kraken. Good to have you on the program. Another digital asset treasury company. I was shocked to see in Olga Kharif's article today, actually, about Mike Novogratz and other Princeton folks, that there have been 85 digital asset treasury companies just this year. Why another one?
Listen, first of all, thank you for having me. Second of all, you got to stop looking at treasury companies as trades. These things are not trades. There are going to be as many treasury companies as there are coin accumulation strategies over the next 20 years. This is not a fad. It's not a trend. It's not going away. This is a replacement for the traditional foundation model. So historically, what digital asset innovators have had to do is sequester all of their new coins, their newly created coins, in these not-for-profit corporations or nonprofits in the Caymans and Switzerland. And basically, these companies have watched their treasury go down and to the right over time. That is clearly an inefficient model. We think treasury companies are going to take the place of these foundations over time. They have access to the capital markets, they can be more dynamic, they can generate revenue, and they can still steward the ecosystems that they're supposed to steward. So you can't look at this thing like a trade, you have to look at it as an evolution.
Having said that, and your company is rebranding itself as Soulmate, which really shows that you're betting on that particular coin. Can you explain why you've said Wall Street will be building on Solana, not Ethereum? What's the basis for that view?
Well, I'm a big Solana believer. Everybody at Soulmate is a big Solana believer. Bitcoin is special. Bitcoin was and remains, and I think for a very long time will be special. It's a new monetary system, a new kind of money. Then Ethereum came on the scene, and Ethereum said, you know what, there's actually more we can do with these blockchains. We can do more than just move value around. We can create smart contracts. They can be composable. They can be decentralized. They can be hardened against attack and interference. Mm-hmm. But then it didn't scale. It didn't go anywhere. Ethereum still can only handle a small number of transactions per second at the base layer, and instead it ships off the large numbers of transactions, all the high throughput, highly performant transactions, to these second layer servers where it's really just somebody else's computer, and it sacrifices so many of the values that made decentralized technology valuable. Solana doesn't do that. Solana doesn't have to do that. It can scale to hundreds of thousands of transactions per second at the base layer, at that foundational layer that made all of those promises about financial services and what financial services could do with blockchains. So when I discovered Solana, I wasn't as early to the party as some, I'll tell you that, but it was a light bulb moment that went off. This is clearly the future. This is what sophisticated, high throughput transactions are going to run on in the future.
Mike, I want to bring you into the conversation because Tim mentioned there are about 85 companies that are involved in DATs, and you've said that you don't think all these DATs will be successful, but if you get critical mass, enhance yield on the underlying token, and build the ecosystem, I think they're net positives for crypto. These are public companies that will be around for a long time. Mike, what will determine success and longevity?
Yeah, listen, I think you're going to need scale. right? Because scale begets scale. And so, you think of something like MicroStrategy, which came out first, now Strategy, it's got scale. And, it will probably, what do these companies do? They bring energy into the ecosystem in lots of ways. And what I was a little wrong on early on, and then it dawned on me, was the access to capital through the equity infrastructure is so much greater than it was through the crypto infrastructure, right? Crypto is a 12-year-old business, and equities have been around for a long, long time. That the wonderful thing about these data center these treasury companies is they've brought in so much more capital at a quick pace, and that capital is what will build this industry. And so I think in each of these buckets, like, I love the fact that Marco's doing another Solana company, because it's also based in a different part of the world. It's going to attack a different set of new investors. Forward Industries is a very U.S.-focused investor base and company, but it's a global technology. And so in some ways, the more the merrier. I think in order to survive, you're going to have to prove to the investors that you bring value, right? Mm-hmm. Like, listen, if we all trade to NAV, it's hard to raise a lot more capital. Mm-hmm. And so you've got to do something that allows you to think, hey, on our $1.6 billion of Solana, just through staking and other things, if we can get that yield from 7 to 10%, you're making $160 million a year in dividends, and you can use that $160 million a year to do other cool stuff with. You can use that leverage to maybe get a good deal on getting free equity in a program that's building on top of the blockchain. And so you're going to have to be creative. We partnered in Forward with Jump Capital in Multicoin. Jump is probably the premier builder of architecture, of financial market architecture on blockchains, and certainly on the Solana blockchain. And so to me, that's just thrilling, right? There are 4 companies in the world, I think, that can compete with Jump on high frequency trading. And so they see the Solana blockchain as what will be the foundation for capital markets in America. And when you have the new head of the SEC, Paul Atkins, saying, I want everything to move on chain, it's a big deal. I mean, it's a stunning deal.
We're going to talk more about the regulatory environment in just a moment. In the meantime, I do want to thank Soulmate CEO Marco Santori for joining us on set. Mike Novogratz is sticking with us.
I'm committed to this company because they did everything they could to try and cancel us. They did everything they could. I'm talking about traditional finance to put us out of business. I was the guy that was getting hundreds of letters from the big banks, Capital One, JP Morgan, all of them, Bank of America. I saw Moynihan was just on, trying to take away accounts for golf courses, for hotels, for residential buildings, for doing absolutely nothing wrong. And it drove me into crypto because I realized that there was nothing that couldn't be done in crypto better, faster, cheaper, more transparently. And it's an amazing industry.
That was Eric Trump speaking to us last week. We're back with Galaxy Digital founder and CEO Mike Novogratz. Mike, the White House, as we know, has ushered in this new era for crypto in terms of regulation and, of course, in terms of this friendly stance toward growing the industry. Are you comfortable with the First Family being this active, so active in this industry? Some make the argument that there's an inherent conflict of interest there.
Listen, what I've said before, and I'll say again, as long as the Trump family and their associates play by the rules, I'm completely fine by it. And the one thing about this new SEC is they're all about disclosure. And, people, and it's a little bit of a buyer beware SEC. And I would guess if you read through most of the different protocols the Trump guys have participated in, everything they do is pretty well disclosed. And so I don't think there should be any mystery around what they're doing. Listen, if they break the rule, if I break the rule, we should get in trouble. But I don't think you can prevent the children of people in power from participating in business. I do think it's an issue in politics, right? The Democrats are going to make a big deal about what they perceive as grift, that the president shouldn't be doing this. And that has a potential to slow down the market structure bill. The far left will push. I think the optimistic news is there's enough Democrats, right? And you can think about guys like Mark Warner, Ruben Gallegos, our own New York Senator, Kristen Gillibrand, that see the value in crypto, that see the political value in being seen as pro-technology, pro-innovation, that market structure will get passed, and will probably get passed with a lot more than 10 Democratic votes.
Yeah.
And so
it sounds, we spoke, I just want to jump in because we don't have a ton of time, but we spoke to Dan Moorhead last week, and he made the point of saying that it really seems like this is important to voters. I push back a little bit on that because we saw in the last election a year ago that even the pro-crypto candidates weren't being messaged in a way that even mentioned cryptocurrency in a lot of cases. Do you think that Democrats now are getting the message if you think that they have to be on board with this type of asset?
I do. I think Democrats, a lot of them think, oh shit, crypto swayed the election Trump's way. Why were we so dumb not to
You think that swayed the election?
I think crypto had a big deal. It had the big deal in the election in the Ohio Senate seat.
But was that crypto, or was that just the messaging around Bernie Moreno?
I think it was crypto. It was the money that crypto brought. Crypto was the crypto PAC was the single largest donor to the Trump campaign.
But they didn't message around crypto. They messaged around the border. They messaged around other issues that seem to resonate more with voters.
Listen, there were 80 million crypto owners in America. A lot of them are single issue voters who care a lot about this industry. That more people own crypto than own dogs. Can you imagine being the party that said, I don't like dogs, I don't care about it was so dumb for Democrats to be anti-crypto. It turned people off. It wasn't the only thing, but it was a pile-on effect of all those issues that swayed young men. I mean, young men voted for Trump much more than they did in any past election. And young men are the crypto people.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No. I think that's a good point, and it's a distinguishing factor. We only have about a minute left. I'm just wondering, as we wrap up our conversation here, it's been a banner year for crypto overall. What is next on your to-do list, Mike?
Listen, I think any cryptocurrency company has to be looking on chain to figure out how do we move more of our business on chain? How do we bring on chain access to our traditional customers, right? When the head of the SEC says we think markets should move on chain, we should listen. And so we spent a lot of time here figuring out that exact question. We are building, we are investing. You look at our stock; it's gone from the lower left to the upper right in a pretty good line. So we feel good about, we're having a great quarter, and a great year. And so it's a whole different feeling here than it was 12 months ago.
Hey, Mike, we only have 10 seconds. You're known for that Luna tattoo that you got a few years ago. Did you get the Solana, the soul tattoo yet?
All my tattoos are going to be kept hidden for a long time.
We'll keep talking about them as long as you keep coming on. We appreciate it.
Mike Novogratz, founder and CEO of Galaxy Digital. Really appreciate your joining us for the entirety of Bloomberg Crypto.